My cousin demanded I cater her wedding for free, but karma hit hard. When my cousin Megan first called me, she was buzzing with the kind of excitement that fills up the air before a storm. I could hear it in her voice, every syllable dripping with anticipation, like she was already starring in the movie of her own life. Megs, that's wonderful, I said when she told me she was engaged. And I meant it. For all her flaws, for all her drama, I wanted her to be happy. But I should have known the happiness came with a catch. A week later, she called again breathless. Lisa, I need you to cater the whole wedding, she said. Her tone wasn't pleading. It wasn't even asking. It was announcing like she was handing down an assignment. I smiled to myself, phone wedged between shoulder and ear, as I chopped onions in my kitchen. That's great. What's your budget? I'll put together some options. There was a pause. Then came the kind of laugh you only hear from someone who's never worked a day in your shoes. Oh, no, you don't get it, she said lightly. I was hoping you'd do it for free. You know, as my gift. The knife stopped in my hand. For a moment, I thought she was joking. But Megan didn't joke about things like this. Free? I repeated slowly. Megan, we're talking about 150 guests. That's not just cooking a tray of brownies. She sighed like I was being dense. Come on, Liz. Your family. And think about it. It'll be great exposure for your business. Exposure. That word is poison in my industry. Exposure doesn't pay my staff. Exposure doesn't cover the food costs or the hours of prep or the late nights cleaning grease from pans. I took a deep breath. Megan, I love you, but the ingredients alone would run thousands. I'd be losing money just walking in the door. There was silence, the kind that prickles your skin. Then she dropped the words that stung harder than the request itself. Fine, I'll find someone better. Someone better. Like 8 years of experience, a wall full of thank you notes, and a reputation I'd bled for meant nothing. Like I was some kid selling cupcakes at a school bake sale. I told her calmly, I can offer you a heavy family discount. I can even help you find cost-effective menu options. But free is off the table. Her voice shifted sharp now, like glass underfoot. Forget it then. I'll figure it out myself. And she hung up. I stood there, my kitchen knife still in hand, staring at the onions. My sanctuary smelled of garlic and oil, but all I could taste was resentment. The weeks passed. The family grapevine was quieter than usual. Normally, Megan's life was broadcast like a soap opera, dress fittings, venue tours, endless chatter. But now nothing. Just silence. Mom mentioned once that Megan had found another caterer who was just as good. I let it slide. Let her have her better. Wedding season came, and I drowned myself in real work. 2 weddings, a corporate event, a birthday spread. 12-hour days, aching feet, satisfied clients. I told myself I didn't care about Megan's big day. But deep down, I knew she hadn't just asked for a favor. She had tried to erase the value of everything I had built. The wedding day came and went. I wasn't invited, not that I expected to be. I spent that Saturday curled up at home with Thai takeout and a bottle of wine, watching a movie for the first time in weeks. It felt peaceful. And then came the morning after. 6:07 a.m. My phone buzzed so hard, it rattled on the nightstand. By the time I sat up, there were already a dozen missed calls. Megan, her mom, even mine. By 6:30, the number had climbed to 37. I rubbed my eyes, heart pounding. Was there an accident? A fire. Something serious. I finally answered Mom's call. Her voice was hushed, frantic, the way people talk when something humiliating has happened and they don't want the neighbors to hear. Oh my God, Lisa, it was a disaster. What do you mean disaster, I asked, still groggy, phone pressed to my ear. Mom didn't hesitate. The food, Lisa, it was horrible. People were whispering all night. Half the guests left before the cake was even cut. I sat up straighter in bed, my chest tight. What happened? Her voice dropped lower, as if embarrassed just repeating it. The chicken was undercooked pink, Lisa. The pasta was ice cold, like it had been sitting out for hours. And the seafood platter. It looked like they just opened a few cans of tuna and dumped it on a plate with some crackers. I closed my eyes, picturing the scene guests pushing food around on their plates, exchanging disgusted glances, quietly sliding dishes away untouched. At a wedding, Megan's perfect fairy tale wedding. Mom's words kept tumbling out. By 9 o'clock, half the reception was empty. The ones who stayed just drank and picked up bread rolls. Megan locked herself in the bathroom crying. And Marcus, oh Lisa, he looked like he wanted to vanish. A bitter taste rose in my mouth. She'd thrown someone better in my face, and now her dream day was collapsing in real time. Then came the kicker. She's begging you to come, Mom whispered. They need you to fix the brunch today. Please just come help. I almost laughed. Fix the brunch. The brunch for 100 out-of-town guests that was supposed to start in a few hours. Did they think catering was magic? That I could snap my fingers and conjure up trays of fresh food without days of prep staff and logistics? Megan wants me to bail her out, I said flatly. She's desperate, Mom admitted. She says only you can save this. The audacity burned. I pictured Megan's smug face weeks earlier. I'll find someone better, and now the same mouth begging through gritted teeth. Tell her I'm unavailable, I said calmly. Mom gasped. What, Lisa? I have plans. And even if I didn't, it's too late. I'm not swooping in to save the day because she refused to respect my work. There was silence, heavy and tense. Then Mom sighed. I'll tell her. Within the hour, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was a long, furious text from Megan herself. You're selfish. You're petty. You're ruining my wedding because you couldn't put family first. Do you know how humiliated I am? Everyone is looking at me like a fool. I needed you when it really mattered, and you turned your back on me. I stared at the screen, my jaw tight. Every word dripped with accusation, but not once did she admit fault. Not once did she acknowledge the truth she had chosen to humiliate me first. I didn't reply. Later, Mom called again to say Megan's brunch had been reduced to panic-bought grocery store trays, deli sandwiches, store-bought cookies, plastic tubs of fruit salad. Guests were unimpressed. Some didn't even show up. Megan had wanted her dream wedding catered for free. Instead, she got wilted lettuce and stale bread. It should have ended there, but I should have known better. For Megan, humiliation wasn't the end. It was the beginning. At first, I thought Megan would just sulk, maybe ignore me at family gatherings for a year or two. That's her usual pattern, play the victim, wait until people forget, then slide back in with a new story. But 3 days later, I noticed something strange. My business page rating dropped overnight. From 4.8 stars, something I'd spent years carefully building, to barely over 3. New reviews had appeared out of nowhere, all scathing, all posted within hours of each other. Terrible service. Food bland and cold. Wouldn't recommend. Canceled last minute and ruined my event. Chicken made everyone sick. Unprofessional and rude. Avoid at all costs. My stomach sank as I scrolled. They weren't just bad reviews, they were lies. None of the details matched any event I'd catered. Some were so generic they read like templates. Still, they were effective. Potential clients don't stop to investigate. They see a tanking rating and move on. I checked the profiles. Most were brand new accounts with no other reviews, no photos, no history. But a few had familiar names. Megan's old college friends. That's when it clicked. She hadn't just been humiliated, she decided to make me pay. If she couldn't control me at her wedding, she tried to control my future by poisoning the very thing I'd worked for my reputation. I called her. No answer. Straight to voicemail. I texted instead, trying to stay calm professional. Megan, I know you're upset, but this isn't the way. Fake reviews hurt my business and my staff. Please take them down. I saw the read receipt within seconds, but no reply. 10 minutes later, I was blocked. That was my answer. The betrayal stung deeper than I wanted to admit. It wasn't just business. It was personal. Every review was like a dagger, each one undoing years of blood, sweat, and tears I'd poured into building trust. I thought back to all the nights I'd worked until 2 a.m., all the times I'd fixed the last-minute disasters, all the clients who'd hugged me with tears of gratitude. And now all reduced to lies crafted by my own cousin. For a moment, I considered letting it go, reporting the reviews to Google, hoping they'd vanish. But then the call started. One bride canceled her booking, citing bad reviews she couldn't ignore. A corporate client emailed me nervously asking if I'd really been shut down by the health department. That rumor wasn't even in the reviews, it had been whispered somewhere else. Megan wasn't stopping at reviews. She was spreading word-of-mouth poison too. This wasn't a tantrum, this was a campaign. And then came the proof. A fellow caterer, Dave, called me. We weren't close friends, but we respected each other. He sounded uneasy. Lisa, I think you should know. Megan called me. She offered me $50 to post a bad review about your business. Said you ruined her wedding and needed to be taught a lesson. My grip on the phone tightened. She asked you to lie. Yep, he said grimly. I told her no, but she's calling around. You're not the only one. My pulse pounded. This wasn't paranoia. She was actively recruiting others to destroy me. And in that moment, my anger hardened into something sharper. If Megan wanted war, then war was what she'd get. When Dave hung up, I just sat there with the phone in my hand, numb. My cousin wasn't just lashing out, she was orchestrating a full-scale attack, recruiting others, writing scripts, manufacturing a story where I was the villain. For a few hours, I spiraled. What if she succeeded? What if my business, the thing I'd built from nothing, collapsed because of her lies? But then something shifted inside me. Fear turned into clarity. If Megan wanted to fight dirty, fine. I wasn't afraid of the truth, and I wasn't afraid to expose her. I called Sophie. She's a friend who's helped me design flyers and manage my social media in the past. Smart, creative, and loyal to the core. I need your help, I told her. Name it. And just like that, the plan was born. Sophie would create a fake online profile, a newly engaged woman planning a wedding, looking for catering recommendations. Megan loved attention, and I knew she wouldn't be able to resist poisoning a bride's ear against me. If she took the bait, we'd have screenshots. Proof. The profile went live 2 days later. Sophie messaged Megan, casual and friendly. Hey, I'm getting married next spring. Do you know any good caterers in town? Megan responded within minutes. Oh my God, yes. Just avoid Lisa's business at all costs. Total disaster. She ruined my wedding. Showed up late, food was cold. Everything was awful. I felt a twist in my gut as Sophie sent me the screenshots. The details were elaborate but completely fabricated. Megan was rewriting history with herself as the victim and me as the incompetent fraud. And then Megan went one step further. Actually, she wrote, I'm putting together a group to warn people about Lisa. We're leaving reviews, sharing stories, all that. Want to join? She sent Sophie an invite link. Inside the group chat, we hit the jackpot. 15 people. Megan's friends, cousins from her mom's side, even a few strangers she must have roped in. They were actively plotting. She'd written entire paragraphs for them to copy and paste as reviews. Some included stolen photos of rotten food from Google pretending it was mine. The chat history stretched back weeks. Megan had been planning this from the moment I said no. Sophie scrolled through, capturing everything. Screenshots of the lies, the fake stories, Megan assigning who would post where. Even messages where she bragged, her business won't survive this. She'll wish she'd done my wedding for free. That was it, the smoking gun. I should have felt relieved, but instead I felt something else, anger so cold it was almost calm. This wasn't just petty revenge anymore. This was calculated sabotage. She wasn't trying to hurt my feelings. She was trying to destroy my life. But now for the first time, I had the upper hand, because this time I had proof. With the screenshots in hand, I knew I had to be strategic. Rage alone wouldn't fix this. If I came at Megan head on, she'd just twist the story until I looked like the bully. That's what she was best at, twisting. So I called the one person she feared disappointing more than anyone, her father, Uncle Dan. Uncle Dan isn't the warm hug you kind of dad. He's old school. Hard work, honesty, no excuses. He built his construction business brick by brick, and he's always been vocal about how much he despises liars. For years, Megan had relied on her charm to soften him, but I knew this would test even his loyalty. When I told him about the fake reviews, the group chat, the screenshots of Megan orchestrating everything, he didn't interrupt. He just listened. I could hear his heavy breathing on the line, each exhale louder than the last. Finally, he said low and sharp, "I'll handle it." And I knew Megan was about to face something she couldn't charm her way out of. An hour later, Megan unblocked me. A frantic text popped up on my phone. "Why would you tell Dad?" I stared at the screen, my pulse steady. "Why would you try to destroy my business?" I shot back. Her replies came fast, like a child caught red-handed scrambling for excuses. "I was just mad. It's not like you lost money. You didn't even help me when I needed you." That last line almost made me laugh. Not like I lost money, I'd lost bookings, reputation, hours of sleep. And even if I hadn't, what kind of logic was that? I didn't bother responding. Instead, I sent everything, every screenshot, every message to Google and Yelp. Within days, the fake reviews started disappearing. Accounts got banned. The truth was scrubbing her lies away, but Megan wasn't finished. A week later, I got a call from Rick, the caterer she'd actually hired for her wedding. "She just tried to do a chargeback on me," he said, his voice tight with anger. "Told the bank my food was inedible and I scammed her. She ate half of it at the wedding and then cried to get her money back." I gripped the phone. "You're kidding." "Nope, but she messed up. I've got receipts, delivery slips, everything. I'm suing her in small claims." That's when the pattern crystallized. Megan wasn't just entitled. She was a scammer. She hadn't planned to pay anyone, not me, not Rick. Probably not a single vendor from that wedding. And if she thought she could keep playing games, she had no idea what was coming. Because I wasn't done either. This time I was going to hit back so hard she'd never recover. Just when I thought Megan couldn't stoop lower, she proved me wrong. It started with a call from a bride whose wedding I was scheduled to cater in 3 weeks. Her voice was shaky. "Hi, Lisa. I just wanted to check, are you still in business?" I froze. "Of course. Why would you think otherwise?" She hesitated, then whispered, "I got an email yesterday saying your company shut down due to health issues, that you were canceling all bookings effective immediately." My stomach dropped. I asked her to forward the email, and when I opened it, my blood ran cold. It looked official. Same logo, same business name, even signed with my full name. But it wasn't me. It was a fake account Megan had created pretending to be me. She wasn't just writing bad reviews anymore. She was sending fake cancellation notices to my actual clients, sabotaging my livelihood in the most direct way possible. I spent the next hour frantically calling every client on my calendar. At least 4 had received similar emails. Some had already started scrambling for replacement caterers. Megan was dismantling my business one client at a time. That night, I called Uncle Dan again, but this time he didn't pick up. My gut told me why. Sure enough, my mom called a few hours later, her tone hushed and heavy. "Lisa," she said carefully, "I know you're furious with Megan, but maybe it's time to let this go. Her parents are dealing with a lot right now." I felt my jaw tighten. Let it go? She's actively impersonating me, sabotaging my business. How can I let that go? Mom sighed, like she was carrying a weight she didn't want to set down. "There are other things happening, things you don't know about." What things? I pressed? And then she told me. Uncle Dan had just discovered that Megan had racked up over $30,000 in debt, using his name. She'd opened credit cards with his social security number, taken out personal loans in his name, and maxed out everything she could to finance her extravagant wedding. She had forged his signature. The bank found the fraud during a routine credit check. Now Dan's credit was wrecked, his accounts under investigation, and the family scrambling to contain the fallout. My mom's voice shook. "He's devastated, Lisa. He thought he raised her better. He's trying to keep it quiet, but it's bad." I sat in stunned silence. Suddenly, everything clicked into place. Megan never planned to pay for her wedding. Not me, not Rick, not any vendor. She had built the whole thing on lies, debt, and fraud. And now that it was collapsing, she was thrashing, trying to pin the destruction on me. But this time, she'd gone too far. Because I wasn't just dealing with family drama anymore. This was identity theft, fraud, a criminal offense. And for the first time, I realized Megan wasn't just toxic, she was dangerous. The family storm finally broke at a birthday party for my aunt. It was supposed to be a cheerful gathering. Balloons tied to chairs, kids running around tables stacked with food. Everyone tried to act normal, but the air felt thick, like everyone knew something ugly was waiting to happen. Then Megan walked in. Hair perfect dress, immaculate smile plastered on like she was starring in her own little movie. She hugged. Relatives laughed too loudly, played the part of the radiant new bride. But her shoulders were stiff, her eyes darting. She knew. And then Uncle Dan stood up. He cleared his throat, his voice steady but heavy. I need to say something. The chatter died instantly. You could feel the silence wrap around the room. Megan froze with her champagne glass halfway to her lips. Dan's voice was calm, but it cut like steel. My daughter is a liar. And a thief. The words cracked through the room. Someone gasped. A fork clattered to the floor. Megan's fake smile faltered. She let out a shaky laugh trying to play it off. Dad, what are you? But Dan didn't let her finish. You stole from me. You forged my name, you scammed your vendors, and you tried to destroy your cousin's business. The air was electric. Every set of eyes turned on her. And then one by one, the voices started. The DJ who'd done her wedding as a favor spoke up quietly. You still owe me $1,500. The florist standing near the buffet crossed her arms. You ignored my calls? I lost thousands on your wedding? Even the cake decorator who'd come with her boyfriend, a cousin, chimed in. 2 days I spent on that cake? You never paid me a dime? Megan's chest rose and fell quickly, her face flaming red. She looked around, waiting for anyone to defend her. No one did. Then Rick, the original caterer, stepped forward and dropped an envelope on the table in front of her. That's a garnishment notice. You can't run from this anymore. I'm getting my money back. Megan's mask cracked. Her voice came out a strangled whisper. This is an attack. You're all ganging up on me. But Dan's voice was unyielding. No, Megan. This is justice. You lied, you stole, you humiliated your family, and now you face the consequences. Her eyes found me across the room, blazing with desperation and hate. You did this, she hissed. You ruined my life. I tilted my head, calm, almost pitying. No, Megan. You did that all by yourself. That's when she snapped. She hurled her champagne glass against the wall shards scattering across the floor. People flinched. Children started crying. Her voice rose to a scream as she turned on her father. I had no choice. You wouldn't help me pay. What was I supposed to do? Dan's face was thunder. You could have asked honestly. Instead, you forged my signature and destroyed my credit. Megan was shaking, her breathing ragged. For once, no one moved to comfort her. No one played the role of enabler. And then, without another word, she bolted. The door slammed behind her, leaving the room in stunned silence. We all knew something had ended. Megan's ability to manipulate, her family's willingness to protect her. The fragile image she'd built her entire life on. The house of cards had finally collapsed. After Megan stormed out of that party, no one followed her. Not her mother, not her cousins, not even James. The silence in that room told me everything. Megan had finally burned the last bridge she had. But her story didn't end at that slammed door. If anything, it was only the beginning of the fallout. The very next week, her ex-husband filed for full custody of their children. The court, already watching her spiraling reputation, granted it temporarily. They cited instability, ongoing allegations, and her inability to provide financially. For a woman who built her whole identity around being the perfect mother, it was the cruelest cut. Megan tried to fight it. She showed up in court in pearls and lipstick, smiling through gritted teeth, but the evidence piled high. Testimonies from vendors she'd scammed, screenshots of her online smear campaign, statements from parents at the school she'd worked at. It all painted the same picture: a woman reckless, manipulative, and dangerous. Then came the professional blow. The state board reviewed her case and revoked her teaching license. No more schools, no more authority, no more stage to play the role of golden role model. She was blacklisted in the county. Every private school, every church group, every parent coalition knew her name now, and not in the way she craved. At church, the final sanctuary she had left, they removed her from every leadership position. She'd once strutted through those halls with her Bible tucked under her arm, smiling like she owned the place. Now women whispered when she walked past. The whispers weren't admiration anymore. They were disgust. And money, always the real driver behind her schemes, slipped through her fingers. With no job and mounting lawsuits, she defaulted on her mortgage. The bank repossessed her house within months. She moved back in with her parents, the same father whose credit she destroyed. I heard through the grapevine that Uncle Dan only let her stay because of her kids, though even that arrangement didn't last. Once custody went to her ex, Dan told her to find somewhere else. I thought that might be the end of it. But Megan never knew when to quit. One night, my phone lit up with an email from her. Just 4 words: I hope you rot. No explanation, no apology, just venom. And yet I smiled when I read it. Because for the first time in months, I wasn't the one living in fear. Megan had spent years crafting a mask: perfect mom, perfect sister, perfect daughter. But once the mask cracked, there was no putting it back together. Everyone saw her for who she was. Not a golden child, not a victim, but a woman who would burn down anyone's life just to feed her own pride. Her fall wasn't sudden. It was slow, humiliating, public. And she had no one left to blame but herself. Still, the damage she caused lingered like smoke after a fire. My business survived, yes. But I'll never forget how close she came to destroying it, how far she was willing to go. Sometimes, late at night, I wonder if she thinks of me, if she still convinces herself that I was the villain in her story, or if she ever looks in the mirror and sees the truth. Because the truth is, I didn't ruin her life. I simply refused to be her victim. And for people like Megan, that refusal is the ultimate betrayal. Just when I thought Megan had finally been silenced, she came back with one last desperate attempt to claw her way out of the pit she dug for herself. It started with whispers. A cousin called me one night, voice hushed like he was afraid Megan might hear him through the phone. She's telling people she's going to sue you, he said. Claims you slandered her, that you're the reason she lost her job, her marriage, her kids. I almost laughed. Sue me. On what grounds? The truth, screenshots don't lie. Emails don't lie. Witnesses don't lie. But Megan, she lived in a world where lies were all she had left. A week later, I got the paperwork. Thin, desperate, and riddled with holes. She'd filed a civil complaint accusing me of defamation, harassment, even emotional cruelty. Reading it, I could see her fingerprints all over every word. Her dramatics poured onto the page like poison. My reputation was destroyed by malicious lies. I have been robbed of opportunities. I am a victim of cyberbullying. Victim. Always the victim. My lawyer didn't even blink. This is dead on arrival, she said. She doesn't have a case? In fact, this could backfire spectacularly. And it did. When the court date came, Megan walked in, wearing a suit 2 sizes too big. Hair frazzled, her fake confidence cracking at the edges. Across the aisle, I sat with my lawyer and a folder full of evidence. Screenshots, witness statements, voicemails, even the group chat where she and her friends plotted to tank my business reviews. The judge skimmed her complaint, then turned to me. Do you have evidence? My lawyer slid the folder forward like it was the easiest thing in the world. The judge's eyebrows rose as he flipped through page after page. Finally, he set it down. This case is dismissed, he said flatly. And Ms. Megan, you're lucky she isn't suing you. For the first time, I saw Megan falter. She didn't scream, didn't argue, she just deflated. Like someone had punctured the last balloon keeping her afloat. Walking out of that courtroom, I realized something. Megan wasn't just dangerous because she was cruel. She was dangerous because she was relentless. She couldn't accept defeat, couldn't accept consequences. To her, every no was a personal attack, every refusal a betrayal. And yet her relentless nature was also her downfall. She kept digging when everyone else had already walked away. And now she'd buried herself so deep, no one could reach her. The lawsuit was the final straw. Whatever scraps of credibility she had left vanished that day. Even her parents stopped defending her. Her ex-husband filed for permanent custody, and the court granted it without hesitation. Her name became shorthand in our town for entitlement gone too far. But the most haunting part, even after losing everything, her job, her kids, her reputation, she still couldn't admit she was wrong. She'd rather go down swinging than say the words, I was wrong. That's the thing about people like Megan. They don't break cleanly. They splinter, sending shards into everyone around them, cutting anyone who dares to get too close. And I had the scars to prove it. After the court dismissed her case, Megan disappeared from our lives in the way only someone who thrives on attention can, loud at first, then suddenly silent. No more smear campaigns, no more fake reviews, no more dramatic phone calls. Just a void where her chaos used to be. I thought I'd feel triumphant, vindicated, but mostly I felt tired. Tired of defending myself, tired of explaining the obvious, tired of having to prove that I was the victim, not the villain. Sometimes, late at night, I'd catch myself staring at my phone, half expecting another barrage of texts from Megan. But nothing came, just silence. And silence, I realized, is its own kind of violence. My business slowly healed. Clients returned, the reviews stabilized, and word of mouth carried me through. Yet every time I saw a new booking come in, I felt a flicker of anxiety. What if Megan tried again? What if she found another angle, another weapon? Living under that shadow was its own prison. Family gatherings became different too. Her absence was like a missing tooth, painful at first, then just awkward. No one mentioned her, but everyone felt the gap she left behind. And maybe that was the biggest punishment of all. Not the legal battles, not the ruined reputation, but the silence. Being erased from the family she once controlled with her tantrums and manipulations. I still think about the moment she tossed that baby blanket into my lap, smirking as if she'd won. That single act lit the fuse on everything that followed. I wonder sometimes if James had spoken up. If someone had said, stop that night, would any of this have happened? Ask yourself, what would you do if the people who should protect you chose silence instead? Would you swallow your pain to keep the peace? Or would you light the match and let the truth burn everything down? Because here's what I learned sometimes. Justice doesn't look like a courtroom victory. Sometimes it looks like watching someone finally choke on the lies they built their empire on. And sometimes it's just the sound of silence. Thanks for watching and supporting my stories. If you've ever faced work for exposure, share your thoughts. I'd love to hear them.